I legit think I've come up with the perfect draft pick for the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, they'd most likely have to trade up to get him. Who is it? How would they do it? Why does it make sense? Let's talk some NBA draft on today's Locked On Dubs.
You are Locked On Warriors,
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast.
your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
We got 4 championships.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
Your team every day.
What's good, everyone? Welcome to Locked On Warriors. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find us on YouTube. If you're hanging out with us right now, go ahead and smash that like button. It is free. Find us wherever you get your audio podcasts and take us on the go. It's always free and available. Subscribe, leave us a 5-star review if you are a fan of the show. And let's dive into this thing today. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly of 95.7 The Game in the Bay Area. That's the flagship radio station for your Golden State Warriors. Also covered the team on TV for CBS News Bay Area. Covered their championship run in 21-22. All right, the offseason has been here for a minute. There's been so much Jonathan Kuminga talk. There's been some surgery updates with Moses Moody and Brandon Pajemski likely being out until the start of camp as they have undergone successful surgery. But today we don't talk about anyone that's on the Golden State Warriors team. There's no hypothetical trades, sign and trade ordeals with Jonathan Kuminga. It's all about the NBA draft, which comes to you June 25th from Barclays Center. And the Golden State Warriors have the 41st pick this season. They lost their first-round draft rights to the Miami Heat when they traded for Jimmy Butler. But they do have 41, and they've had some success in the second round. Some notable second-rounders. Last year, Quentin Post, the fact that he was playable in many of the games during an NBA playoff run is pretty impressive for a second-round pick. But it's going to be more and more common, I think, in the NBA as you start seeing 24, 25-year-olds that have played COVID years, that sort of thing. And that's what Post was. Geese Santos, a second-round pick in 2022, finally showed his worth this season, is kind of a scrap guy, a role player, but someone that can give you good energy, good minutes off the bench, and is big during a long regular season. Draymond Green, let's go back a decade, 2012. You're not going to get a player like Draymond Green often. And he was 35. Post was 52 overall. Santos was 55. Draymond was 35. So obviously the lower you go in the second round, usually the better the players are. Monte Ellis back in 2005 was 40th overall. Gilbert Arenas was number 31 back when they drafted him in 2001. So that's 5 notable guys. And I guess if you call Santos and Post notable, obviously the 3 most notable, 2012 Draymond, 2005 Monte Ellis, 2001 Gilbert Arenas. You can't bank on second rounders being big-time contributors on playoff teams, especially their first season in the NBA. But the way that the Warriors sit right now with their cap space issues and this new CBA, and with 3 of their highly paid players making up, I believe it's about 80% of their space, they could use hitting on a rare pick that comes in season 1 and provides them legitimate depth. Role player, sure, but legitimate depth as a piece in the NBA from day one. As of right now, the 41st pick projected by ESPN is this guy, Hansen Yang from China. His CBA stats, pretty impressive, 16 points, 10.5 rebounds, averaged a couple of blocks over in China. He's 7'2", 249 pounds. And if you go and watch some of his tape, what he showed off at the combine, to me, displays a big man that has some skills and some real, natural IQ and comfortability playing the game. Sometimes you watch tape and you see 7-footers of guys that are just huge. They're clumsy as hell. You watch this guy and you wouldn't know he's 7'2" by his tape. Does not look like a klutz. Again, from China, Yao Ming, really the last great talent from China. Kyle Anderson had Chinese heritage. We saw him with the Warriors last season, but Anderson was born in New York. The stats Like I said, 16 and 10. Pretty impressive. So I'm trying to find the red flags because the fact that he's projected right now at 41 and pretty much all the mock boards that I've seen has him somewhere in the second round. And someone that's polished offensively, that's that size, that's that young, 19, you would think he'd be higher up. So I went digging, looking for the red flags. First of all, in 2023, competed at the Under 19 World Cup. It was pretty impressive. Played against last year's number 2 pick, Alex Sarr, an average 12, 10, and 5 blocks in 7 games during that circuit. He had 8 points, 10 boards, 7 assists, and 6 blocks in 25 minutes against Team USA, but did have 5 fouls. How will he hold up against thicker, just more physical bigs in the NBA? Because, yeah, he's 240 pounds or whatever he is, 250 pounds, but he's also 7'2". He's a skinny guy. I mean, let's throw the stats back up. He's not drinking many myoplexes, or maybe he is, but not big boned yet. And someone that could stretch the floor a little. I mean, not a real 3-point threat presence, but he at least makes you guard him outside and can put the ball on the deck a little bit for 7'2". Some of the scout on him is that he has good hands. I've seen some good passing in his videos. And I'm sure Steve Kerr absolutely loved what he saw from those videos where literally top of the key, he's surveying the defense and making a play with his IQ, finding people cutting to the basket. He has creative moves down low, good feel for the game, does turn it over too much, gets by as a rebounder in the league that he plays in China, usually just because of sheer size. But when you dig deeper into the tape, he doesn't always have great positioning, and that could be an issue at the NBA level. And then defensively, the stats look great, but the tape tells a different story. He's a bad pick and roll defender, it sounds like. Gets cooked on ball screens because of his slow feet and hips. Now, look, I don't tend to know much about basketball in China. I'm not going to sit here and act like I do. I don't even know what time it is right now over there. Now, for those of you that are joining from China, welcome. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you all. But to me, sounds like a project. Looks pretty good. Like when you watch his tape, he moves well for a 7'2" guy. But you figure there are some cracks in his game, or he would not be slotted in at 41st overall. And the Warriors, to me, are not in a position where they can go with a young developing project unless they believe he is a can't miss type of guy. But I don't think you can really bank on a second rounder being someone, or a young second rounder being someone that can step in and be your 7th, 8th man overall and your 3rd, 4th guy off the bench, and a big that you can rely on that'll help take this team to the next level. I think the more likely scenario for the Warriors is to go with someone a little bit older who has showcased his ability at the collegiate level, who has played against some high major talent, who's like 23, 22 years old, something along those lines, just because of where the timeline is right now. That is, if the Warriors think they can actually get better right now through the second round of the NBA draft, which, as we know, is not likely. I mean, I just showed you the picks that the Warriors have had over the years. I mean, a few of them right away helped you, specifically Draymond Green, but it's not likely. Now, I wonder if someone like Janai Broome, who was pretty dominant at the collegiate level, slips down, would you go with him knowing that he provides size, he provides some veteran instincts and veteran play? Or would you say, he just doesn't project well to the NBA level and we're not going to use our pick on someone like that? Same could be said for someone like Walter Clayton, who led his Florida Gators to the national championship, but is still somehow projected to be late first round or second round just because he does not have those measurables that other players have at this level. So that's what I'm looking at right now, because college success, it doesn't mean really anything. I mean, the list goes on and on of players: Jimmer Fredette, Adam Morrison, Marvin Bagley, Drew Timme, Mo Bamba. Like, there's no science to this. This guy averaged 20 and 10 at the collegiate level. So I think we should bring him in and he's going to be a ready-made, polished guy from day one. However, I am going to give you a player that had those stats that I think could be one of those players that is, if not ready-made, someone that can be a role player early and develop into a pretty good big in the NBA. So we'll get into that in just a minute. But the Warriors need depth. It's fun to throw out guys, especially this time of the year, like KD or Giannis or Sabonis, or fill in the blank of a really expensive player that realistically may not even help the Warriors get to an NBA championship. One, because it's impossible. That's the biggest thing. And two, because even if you did make it work to where you had Steph and this other $50 million player, who's on the bench? I mean, let's go back to 2015 to the right here, the golden moment. These Warriors, like the reason they were able to win it, sure, they had guys at the top, but they had the Barbosas of the world. They had the Bogut's. They had the Livingstons. They had the Mo Spates. Like they had all these different guys, Festus Ezeli, that knew their roles and that were a nice combination of, I guess, different roles. Like they all could do a little bit of everything, and they all bought into their specific roles that they were asked of. So we will see some other names coming up that are mocked to the Golden State Warriors with that second round pick. And then I want to discuss why the Dubs should trade up to the first round and why I think there's a can't miss prospect that's literally in the Bay Area. We've seen him for years. It's Maxime Raynaud from Stanford. I want to tell you a little bit about him. I want to hear your comments on whether you agree with me, whether you're saying, Chuck, you're an absolute idiot. Raynaud's not going to get it done in the NBA. Look, NBA draft is a crapshoot. Every once in a while, you'll see tape of Bill Simmons on draft night just throwing out that Anthony Bennett's going to be a bust and this guy shouldn't go top 10. He shouldn't even be in the top 50. And you see him strike gold for an entire NBA draft. But even the best in the world, scouts that are getting paid millions of dollars, sometimes they have the same percentage as a guy with fake brick on his wall that's chilling in his basement podcasting about the Golden State Warriors. That's the beautiful thing. We're here to talk about the NBA draft, all things about the NBA draft. That is coming up on Locked On Warriors. All right, let's run through our sponsor on today's show. It's DoorDash. Feeling hungry right about now? I'm always feeling hungry, and DoorDash is the place to go because you know what time it is. It's playoff season, and that means bigger deals for the 2025 NBA championship. It's called They Swoosh You Score. Anytime a player drops 50 or more points in a playoff game, DashPass members score a 3-piece crispy tender combo free from Wingstop the very next day. Just place an order of $20 or more. Use code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. Crispy, delicious, totally free. The offer is valid from noon to midnight the day after a game. Terms do apply. Your go-to after an epic game, if you see 50 points, immediately you should be thinking wings or tenders in this situation. Although you got to spend 20 in order to get those free crispy tenders. So you can do wings and tenders. Feed the entire family here. Here's the play. Sign up for DashPass to unlock this and more exclusive deals all season long. When any player scores 50 plus in a playoff game, DashPass members can grab that 3-piece crispy tender combo from Wingstop the next day. It's with a $20 order, code Wingstop50. That's DashPass, your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms do apply. Let's get back to the show. All right, another name that's brought up right now, I mean, not necessarily tied to the Golden State Warriors, considering he hasn't worked out with them, but does possess some attributes that make sense from a fit perspective. And he is a player that's seen around like 39 to 44 in the draft, so could be a potential fit just based off availability. That player, he's from Tennessee. His name's Chaz Laneir. Here's the Locked On college basketball experts to tell you about Chaz.
Chaz Laneir is going to add instant scoring to whichever NBA franchise decides to draft him. Hey, I'm Eric Kane, Locked On Vols, and Chaz Laneir was everything Tennessee wanted out of the transfer portal. for his final year of eligibility this past basketball season. An 8-time All-American, All-SEC shooting guard, Tennessee's single-season three-point record holder, taking down Chris Lofton in the NCAA tournament. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment in itself. 6'5", 207 pounds, averaged 18 points per game in the Southeastern Conference, which is obviously the best conference in all of college basketball this season. He's got moves to the rim, got better as the season went along, but he is a sharp shooter and a guy that will provide scoring for whichever NBA franchise decides to take Tennessee shooting guard Chaz Laneir.
All right, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 40% from three. Went for 8 threes in a contest, went 7 for 10 in a game, 6 for 13 in Tennessee's first round win against 15-seeded Wofford in the NCAA tournament. He's a legit sharpshooter. That obviously makes sense. There are some issues, though. 0 playmaking. He averaged 1 assist per game. That's tough to do at the collegiate level, honestly. He only had more than 2 assists in a game a handful of times this season. So I do not know how the Prince of Passing, Steve Kerr, looks at that stat and says, bring him in. But it's why he's a second rounder. 18 points in the SEC, 40% from three, good size at the shooting guard position, 6'5". If you're projected as a second rounder, you have some cracks in your game, and that's it. Like, he is a shooter. Can he play some defense? We'll see at the NBA level. Was, pedestrian, was decent, maybe above decent at Tennessee. But will he be great defensively in the NBA? Probably not, but he can shoot. He can shoot. So we will see if he is someone that makes sense. Now, the Warriors have worked out some players. Here's a list of them. Kobe Johnson from UCLA, RJ Lewis from St. John's, Nate Biddle from Oregon, Stephen Crow from Wisconsin, and Tamar Bates from Missouri are the first 5 they worked out. Also worked out Milos Uzan from Houston, but last time I checked, I may be wrong, but I'm 95% sure I'm right. He's heading back to the collegiate level. So worked out for the Warriors, or was projected to work out for the Warriors, but did not include him on this list. And it is an interesting batch of players that worked out for the team. And look, there have been players that have been drafted by the Warriors that probably have not worked out for the team in the past. But really only one of these guys is on mock boards. It's RJ Lewis, big 6'7" guard who played for Rick Pitino at St. John's, averaged 18 and 7 boards, but he was benched in their tourney loss to Arkansas because he couldn't put the ball in the basket, and that is kind of a big thing with the Golden State Warriors. So, we'll see. Stephen Crow, a big 7-footer, he averaged 10 and 5 at Wisconsin. I'd be outraged if the Warriors drafted this guy. He's not even on big boards. No. Nate Biddle from Oregon is intriguing. He's 7 feet, not a great shooter, but he'll make 1 a game, and 33% type of guy from 3. Averaged 14 and 7 in the Big Ten for the Ducks, but got significantly better quickly, and you like that for a big. Kind of like Quentin Post. He was one of those guys. And this Tamar Bates guy from Missouri, he's interesting. Helped Missouri to the tournament this season. Only averaged 13 points. Did shoot at 40% from 3. Didn't take a ton, though. But he can clearly shoot. I mean, over his 4 years in college, shot 92% from the stripe. Shot above 90% every season. Keep an eye on this guy. If not for that reason alone. Like, he's been a rising prospect, and just because you're not a big-time 18-point scorer in college doesn't mean you can't be a microwave in the NBA. And Tamar Bates can clearly shoot and seems like he's someone that's rising up draft boards late. The Warriors have worked him out, which means they like him somewhat. So he's someone to potentially keep an eye on. But enough of the guys that the Warriors could potentially go after. Here is the guy that I think the Golden State Warriors should go after. Stanford, right down the road, Palo Alto. We saw him for years down there. Never got a chance to showcase his talents on the biggest stages, because Stanford really never played in many huge games. They were never really seriously on the bubble, never got to play in an NCAA tournament, but he's impressive. His name, the Frenchman, Maxime Raynaud. 20 points, 10 rebounds, 34% from three. Here's Isaac Shade of Locked On College Basketball, who has more on Raynaud.
Maxime Raynaud is a legit 7-footer with an all-around game that can make NBA front offices salivate. But somehow, the Frenchman from Stanford, despite being 7'1", is wildly overlooked. How about this? Just one player in all of Division I last year averaged a 20-point, 10-rebound double-double, and his name is Maxime Raynaud. He profiles as a pick-and-pop 5 due to his high-level screening and knocking down just shy of 35% of his career threes at Stanford. But it's not just the outside. Raynaud has the ability to attack closeouts and get to the rim and finish. Growth is needed on the defensive side, where he is solid, but not an elite athlete, and that's going to force him to play drop coverage, which should be an issue against NBA pick-and-roll games. Now, given his size, you would expect more rim protection, but Raynaud's career block rate in college was just 3.5%. All the same, Raynaud's size and game are tantalizing enough that I expect him to hear his name called on night 1 of the NBA draft.
All right, here's the issue. Night 1 of the NBA draft does not feature the Golden State Warriors yet. They have the assets, the future assets, to make a trade and potentially land him in the top 25 picks in the NBA draft, which is where he's likely slated. I've seen him as high as 12 on some big boards. I've seen him as low as like 29, 30, something along those lines. But I really like his game. I'm going to tell you why I think he'd be a good fit. We already got the chat coming in saying he's got weak hands. Steve Kerr doesn't play rookies. I mean, he played the last two that we've seen, Brandon Pajemski and Quentin Post. So he definitely plays rookies and played Pajemski quite a bit, to be honest with you. And by the end of the season, played Post quite a bit for a rookie. Trace Jackson Davis, we saw him as a rookie. So that's just factually false. The question is, would they trade up to get him? Why would it make sense? I give you that answer coming up on Locked On Dubs. Trades are hard. We've heard Joe Lacob say that many times, but he's talking more about blockbuster trades, bringing Jimmy Butler to town. Draft trades are very plausible as long as you have something that another team would want, and the Warriors have plenty of those first-round draft picks in the future that could be pretty enticing, considering at some point, unless the Warriors pull off a miracle here, they're going to stink one of these years. It's just what happens after dynasties crumble. And when you're paying your three most expensive guys $150 million approximately, like eventually they're going to have a down year, you would think. So those picks could be enticing. Now, trading one of those picks to go up and grab someone like Maxime Raynaud, unless you believe he is someone that can step in from day one and provide some value, probably doesn't make a ton of sense in that regard. But it's where the Warriors stand right now. They're looking for a stretch big. Clearly, they drafted one last season. They were looking into Lauri Markkanen last offseason. So Vucevic is a name that's been brought up. So clearly there's some intrigue in finding that stretch big that can help space the offense. And with Jimmy Butler now on your team, someone that can put some pressure on the rim, it's huge to have a player that could step out and knock down a three-pointer from time to time. Maxime is someone that is older, obviously played a full career at Stanford, 20 points and 10 rebounds in the ACC, an all ACC guy, 34% from three. I mean, he is, statistically speaking, extremely impressive. But again, never really played on a big enough stage to get the serious hype that I think this guy personally deserves. But I am biased. I did a report on him for CBS back in the day. Look, anyone that lives in the Bay Area knows that college basketball takes a back seat. Like for CBS, we had the one play special. You know, the Niners would get 2 minutes of highlights, whatever. Warriors would get 2 minutes of highlights. Raiders would get a couple minutes of highlights. Sharks would get a couple plays. By the end of it, you know, after everyone wanted Fisher to sell the team, the A's would get the one play special, unfortunately. And then college basketball, college football, you'd give them the one play special unless it was some incredible game or unless it was, you know, conference tournament or NCAA tournament, because it just does not have the hype that the sport does in other parts of the country. Like, go to Maples for a men's basketball game and tell me it's the same atmosphere as Cameron Indoor. It's just not. When Josh Childress and the Lopez twins were there, sure. It's like anything. If you build it, they will come. But when the team is just average to bad, there's not a lot of hype down there. And I was kind of the first one that saw this guy play. Definitely not the first one in the Bay, but the first one in my office, and said, we got to do a feature on this guy. Like, he can play. He's impressive. Here was that news report. Old suit and tie Chuck Walt back in the day.
Speaking of big, Stanford center Maxime Raynaud. The gamble on the big man is paying off big time. And those watching the Stanford Cardinal could be witnessing the journey of the next French basketball player to make it to the NBA.
I think he'll have a chance to play professionally because with his size and then with his God-given ability, his feet in particular, there are not a lot of people in the world that kind of put all those things together.
I asked Maxime what he would be doing if he wasn't playing basketball, and he said he was a really good swimmer back in the day. At 7'1", wow. Those lanky arms doing the backstroke. He was a big backstroker.
That's way up there. I wonder how fast he could swim being 7'1", but I guess
I don't know. He said he was good.
Honestly, until I saw that report today, I kind of forgot that he was a swimmer. But why he's a potential fit, some defensive versatility brings to the table, has good size and length. Again, not the rim protector that he could be, but he has potential in that regard. Moves his feet really well and can contribute offensively and defensively, especially offensively early down low, and then projects as a pretty decent defensive player with his rapid improvements. Report on him: was one of the big winners at the Combine, being arguably the most impressive performer of the scrimmages. Measured over 7 feet barefoot, has a 9'2" standing reach, can stretch the floor as a center, which is valuable in today's NBA. We know that. Held his own defensively in Chicago, both hedging screens out to the three-point line and altering shots at the rim. It was just as important. He personally has gotten much better quickly. As a freshman at Stanford, he was good. A guy from France that Jared Haas hadn't even seen play like live. They saw some tape of him, but it was during the COVID times. They had never brought him in for a recruiting trip, anything like that. They just saw his tape and they said, hey, can you get a ticket to America? And he said, sure. So they brought him in and had a really good career there with a couple of coaches. But defense got much better quickly, really good on the offensive glass, which would help Golden State, and has really good agility and footwork and is solid on his closeouts. Another thing that I really like about the guy, a double major in computer science and math at Stanford while putting up 20 and 10. I got like 4 hours of sleep. That is impressive. Now, again, the first round thing, that's kind of an issue. I do not know how you'd attack this, whether it be landing his draft rights after, trading up on draft night. You'd have to obviously trade with someone that has a high enough pick to obtain him, but I don't think he's going to fall to 41. Let's say 24. Let's use that as a number. Keep an eye on that 24th pick because it's owned by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have picks 15 and 24. So technically both those picks, keep an eye on. Because to be honest with you, they don't really need picks at the moment. Like, they can go to work through free agency. They can do a lot of different things. They can make trades, cobble some players together. They are in a very good spot. Stephen A is already comparing them to the 2014, 2015 Golden State Warriors and how it was the start of a dynasty. Haven't even won a championship yet. Still got to take down a team from the East, but they've already been crowned as a dynasty in the making. So it's hard to argue that they're going to be good for a long time, though. They're set up nicely, are the Thunder. But they don't need these picks, 15 or 24. And the Warriors' late 2020 first-round picks, like I said, they could be enticing because at some point there's going to be a rebuild, and those picks could be pretty valuable. And the Thunder at that point may want to pick in 2029, 2030, something like that. But they would really have to like someone to trade up because, again, those 29, 30 picks in the future, they will be valuable at some point. I am a firm believer, though, that this guy is going to be a steal. I just think he's really solid. He's grown quickly. can put the ball on the deck a little bit, athletic for his size, like just a good, solid big. And the Warriors went that route last year, going with someone that developed over the years, that was already kind of NBA ready after a quick stint in the G League and Quentin Post. And sure, playoffs came, and there were moments where he was a deer in the headlights. There were plenty of issues defensively where he was just a turnstile to the point where you couldn't keep him on the court. But I'm a firm believer that Maxime Raynaud is better this second than Quentin Post will ever be. And that's not a jab at Quentin Post. I think QP's nice. I mean, for a 50th pick in the NBA draft, like he's a value guy, and he's someone that I think the Warriors should retain, and someone that, can be a bench piece for them moving forward, but they need to get better. They need to get better. And the best ways to do it are through a Kuminga sign and trade that now is looking less likely. We've heard from Anthony Slater report, just because teams may not be enticed to trade for him, the Brooklyn Nets specifically. So there is a path to where he could be back on the Warriors next season. And then it's like, all right, well, Steve Kerr's got to find a way to fit him into the rotation. And whether he wants to be the player that Steve wants him to be or not, they got to make it work, because he's too talented to just be a waste of space on the bench. The other way, obviously, is to hit big on your mid-level exception players, to hit on some vet minimum guys. But the big way is through the NBA draft. 41st pick, it's probably not going to return anyone that can step in right away. But if you trade up, let's use the Thunder as an example with 15 and 24. You take one of those picks, whether it's Raynaud or not, whether you like Raynaud or not. Can you potentially agree with me that that may be the way to do it? Kind of build for the future if you like someone enough, while drafting someone that you think can contribute enough to give you just a pop at a position you need. And that position of need is someone that is big, and someone that has proven they can play and is not just a complete developmental piece, like potentially Hansen Yang. Like, I just don't know, based off the lack of actually seeing him play. I can't sit here and act like I know that Hansen Yang's going to be good. I can sit here and say that I think Maxime Raynaud is going to be a good NBA player, and I think he's going to step in from day one and be able to be playable, which is huge right now in terms of depth. All right, we're going to continue with NBA draft coverage moving forward. Again, the exact date is June 25th, so we're under a month until the Warriors are on the clock. Another thing that I want to do during these slow summer months, considering it's the year 2025, I want to do the top 25 moments of the Golden State Warriors season. So I'm going to go through, got to watch every single game this season, going to go through every game and figure out, obviously Clay's return and Curry spoiling it with one of the most vicious nights of all time late in the game. That's got to be up there, no doubt. The Draymond nightmare, the nightmare Selly's got to be up there. I mean, there's some good stuff overall early in the season. Some of those wins, spoiling Shea's 50-point night and winning without Kuminga and without Draymond. Huge nights from Curry and Wiggins. There's some great moments. What are the top 25 of the season? Where does Game 7, Buddy Hield going crazy against the Rockets, stack up? Leave your thoughts on that in the comments. Leave your thoughts on what I said about Maxime Raynaud. Leave your thoughts on whether the Warriors should potentially trade up. Leave your thoughts on who they should take at 41st if they should not trade up. Just leave your thoughts, because any comment helps it shoot into the algorithm, puts the show into Warriors fans' hands. And for that, I very much appreciate it, and appreciate you tuning in on a Friday or whenever you get this audio podcast. Very much appreciate it. But be on the lookout as we count down the top 25 moments, one show at a time this summer on future episodes. This is Locked On Warriors. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chuck Walter. Have yourself a great day, everyone.